The crack of his hand against her face echoed through the room like a gunshot. 200 guests froze. Champagne glasses suspended midair. Beth Crawford stood there, 6 months pregnant, her cheek burning, her world shattering. But then someone stepped from the shadows. A woman with silver hair and storm gray eyes. A woman who moved like danger wrapped in elegance. A woman who said 5 words that changed everything. That will be quite enough. Beth's heart stopped. Because she knew that voice, knew those eyes. It was impossible. They'd buried her 23 years ago. The closed casket, the folded flag, the voice that had defined Beth's entire life. Her mother, alive, here, now. What Beth didn't know yet was that her millionaire husband's slap had just exposed a web of federal crimes, money laundering, and secrets that would destroy his empire. And the CIA operative who'd faked her own death? She was about to teach her daughter how to fight back. This is their story. The crack of Richard's palm against Beth's face echoed through the marble-floored auction room like a gunshot. For 3 full seconds, nobody moved. 200 guests in evening wear froze mid-conversation, champagne flutes suspended in air, canapes forgotten on silver trays. The string quartet in the corner stopped playing. Even the waitstaff stood motionless, holding their trays at awkward angles. Beth Crawford felt the sting spread across her left cheek before her brain caught up to what had happened. Her hand flew to her face. Hot, throbbing, real. 6 months pregnant. She was 6 months pregnant, and her husband had just slapped her in front of Manhattan's wealthiest art collectors. The Italian cameo she'd been examining wobbled on its velvet stand. She'd bumped the display case, barely touched it. The piece hadn't even moved, but Richard's hand had moved. Fast, hard, precise. "You clumsy," Richard started, his voice low and venomous. "That will be quite enough." The voice came from the shadows near the 16th century paintings. Cool, authoritative, female. A woman stepped into the light and Beth's vision blurred. Tall, silver hair swept into a perfect chignon, charcoal suit that probably cost more than Beth's wedding dress. The woman moved like water, smooth and inevitable, positioning herself between Beth and Richard without seeming to hurry. Beth knew that face, knew those eyes. Gray-green, like looking into a storm over the ocean, like looking into a mirror. 23 years. It had been 23 years since Beth last saw her mother. "I suggest you step away from your wife, Mr. Crawford." Diana Hartwell's voice carried the kind of authority that made billionaires step back without thinking. Immediately, Richard laughed. The sound came out wrong, nervous, ugly. "Do you have any idea who I am?" "I know exactly what you are." Diana's hand rested casually on the velvet rope separating the display area from the main gallery. But Beth recognized the stance. Balanced, ready, coiled. "The question is whether everyone else in this room is about to find out." Beth touched her cheek again. The baby kicked hard against her ribs, responding to her racing heart. She tried to breathe. Couldn't. The corset panel in her vintage Givenchy gown suddenly felt like a vice. A woman in the crowd gasped. Another pulled out her phone. "Beth!" Richard's voice shifted registers, sliding into that sugary tone he used when other people were watching. The tone that meant she'd pay for this later. "We're leaving. Now." He reached for her arm. Diana moved between them so fast Beth barely saw it happen. One moment she was 3 feet away. The next she stood close enough to touch. Close enough that Beth could smell her perfume. Chanel No. 5. The same scent from Beth's childhood. From vague memories of bedtime stories and goodbye kisses. "Mrs. Crawford isn't going anywhere she doesn't choose to go." Diana kept her eyes locked on Richard. Didn't blink. Didn't waver. "How dare you interfere?" Richard started. "Security." Diana didn't raise her voice. Didn't need to. 2 men in dark suits materialized from alcoves Beth hadn't noticed before. "Please escort Mr. Crawford to the exit. Mrs. Crawford will remain here as my personal guest." The room erupted in whispers. Phone cameras flashed. Richard's face turned purple, the color spreading from his collar to his hairline like spilled wine on white carpet. He grabbed for Beth's wrist. Diana's hand intercepted his. Not aggressive, just precise. Her fingers wrapped around his wrist and applied pressure in exactly the right spot. Richard made a sound Beth had never heard from him before. High-pitched, pained, like a kicked dog. Touch her again, Diana said softly, leaning in so only Richard and Beth could hear. And I will break it. I know 17 different ways. I'll choose the one that hurts most. Richard jerked his hand back. The security guards flanked him, not touching, but present. Inevitable. This isn't over, Richard hissed. Your lawyers will be very busy explaining your recent financial activities to several federal agencies. Diana's smile didn't reach her eyes. I'd start making phone calls if I were you. You're going to need better representation than you currently have. The security guards escorted Richard toward the exit. He went, still threatening, still blustering, but he went. The crowd parted around him like he carried something contagious. Beth stood frozen in place. Her legs felt like water. Her stomach churned. The baby did gymnastics against her bladder. Diana turned to face her. For the first time in 23 years, Beth looked directly into her mother's eyes. Hello, Elizabeth. Diana's voice softened slightly, just slightly. I think we should talk. Somewhere private. Beth opened her mouth. Nothing came out. She tried again. You're dead. They said you were dead. I got better. Diana extended her hand, palm up. An invitation, not a demand. Please come with me. You're safe now. Safe. Beth almost laughed. She hadn't been safe in 4 years. Not since she married Richard Crawford. Not since she became someone she didn't recognize. The baby kicked again. Hard, insistent. Like even her unborn daughter knew something had to change. Beth took her mother's hand. Diana's grip was warm, strong, real. Her thumb brushed across Beth's knuckles once. A gesture so familiar Beth's eyes burned. This way. Diana led her through the crowd, which parted automatically. She nodded to Marcus Sotheby Grant, the silver-haired man who owned the auction house. He nodded back. He bottomed back, some silent communication passing between them. They walked past Renaissance bronzes and Baroque paintings, past display cases of ancient jewelry and medieval manuscripts. Beth's heels clicked on the marble, then muffled as they reached a carpeted corridor. They climbed narrow stairs meant for staff only. Diana moved like she owned the building. Maybe she did. Beth didn't know anything anymore. The private room overlooked the main gallery through one-way glass, leather chairs, mahogany desk, a wall of monitors showing every angle of the auction house from multiple camera feeds. Sit. Diana poured water from a crystal pitcher into a heavy glass. Then she caught herself. Oh, please. Beth sat because her ankles were swelling and the baby was doing acrobatics and her face throbbed and she might throw up. Or cry. Or both. Diana handed her the water. Beth drank. It tasted clean and cold and real. You're pregnant. Diana stated it as fact. Didn't ask. CIA training or emotional avoidance? 6 months. Beth's voice sounded hollow, like it was coming from underwater. You disappeared for 23 years. You let me think you were dead. And your opening line is you're pregnant? Diana's jaw tightened. The only sign Beth's words had landed. I was monitoring the security feeds when he hit you. I was moving before my brain made the conscious decision. The admission hung in the air between them. Beth studied her mother. Really looked. Silver hair in that perfect chignon. Minimal makeup that somehow made her look both elegant and dangerous. The expensive suit, understated jewelry. She looked exactly like what she was. A woman who appraised Renaissance bronzes for Russian oligarchs while secretly photographing their financial records. Why are you here? Beth managed. I work here, 3 years now. Diana sat in the chair across from Beth, maintained careful distance, respected space. I retired from the other life. Marcus offered me a position. I accepted. Marcus Sotheby Grant, the owner. My former handler. Diana's mouth curved slightly, not quite a smile. He owed me 30 years of back pay and a legitimate identity. This seemed fair. Beth's laugh sounded hysterical even to her own ears. So you're an appraiser now, just like that, from spy to jewelry expert. I've always been an expert in art and antiquities. It was my cover for 3 decades. At some point, the cover became more real than the mission. Diana leaned forward slightly, not invading space, just present. Beth, how long has he been hitting you? The question landed like another slap. He hasn't. He doesn't. Tonight was... Beth stopped, heard herself making excuses, saw Diana's expression, knew her mother recognized every justification, every rationalization, had probably heard them 1,000 times from other women in other situations. Tonight was the first time he actually hit me, and the first time you couldn't explain away as something else. Diana's tone stayed carefully neutral, evidence-gathering mode, professional. What about the rest of it? Beth's hand moved to her stomach, protective circle, 3 times clockwise. She didn't even realize she was doing it until Diana's eyes tracked the movement. When had protecting her baby become an instinct that trumped protecting herself? He doesn't hit. He just controls things. What I wear, who I see, how I spend money, where I go. It's not abuse. He's just particular about his image. Particular. Diana repeated the word like it tasted bitter, like she was cataloging it for future reference. Through the one-way glass, Beth watched Richard arguing with security in the main gallery. Vivian had arrived, Richard's mother. Perfect blonde hair that came from a bottle and a stylist who charged $500 an hour. Perfect pearls, perfect posture. Perfect disdain for the daughter-in-law who wasn't from the right family. Vivian touched Richard's arm, spoke close to his ear. He nodded. His expression shifted from rage to calculation. They left together, Vivian's hand on his elbow, like she was guiding a child. Beth stood and walked to the window, her reflection superimposed over the scene below. She looked like a ghost, pale, translucent. The baby moved and she watched her dress ripple. Somewhere in the building, an old clock chimed. Once, twice, 3 times. How many hours had she spent standing at windows, watching her own life happen to someone else? Watching herself become smaller and smaller until she wasn't sure there was anything left? Diana didn't speak, didn't fill the silence, just waited. Patient, present, the way you wait for someone to come back from somewhere far away. I thought I was building a safe life, Beth whispered. I married money and stability and respectability, but I just traded one kind of absence for another kind of prison. Yes, Diana's voice was soft. You did. The honesty hurt worse than sympathy would have. Beth turned to face her mother. You don't get to judge me. You left. You chose your job over me. Every single day, you chose something else. I did. Diana stood, walked to a small safe built into the wall, entered a code, removed a laptop. And now I'm going to show you why your husband chose you. Diana set the laptop on the mahogany desk. The screen glowed to life, showing a grid of security camera feeds. Beth recognized the auction house from different angles. Storage rooms, loading docks, private viewing chambers. What am I looking at? Beth lowered herself into the leather chair beside Diana. Her feet ached. The baby pressed against her bladder. She needed to pee, but couldn't make herself move. Evidence. Diana pulled up a video file. The timestamp read 18 months ago. Marcus discovered irregularities in our private sales approximately 6 months ago. High-value pieces selling for amounts that didn't match their appraised worth. Money moving in patterns that suggested laundering. The video showed a man entering through a service door, not the public entrance. He wore a baseball cap and sunglasses, even though the footage showed it was nighttime. He carried a briefcase. Diana zoomed in on his face as he glanced at a camera. Richard. Beth's stomach dropped. When was this? March of last year. Diana pulled up another file. This is from August. Richard again, meeting someone Beth didn't recognize in a storage room. They exchanged briefcases. September. Another meeting. November, January last month. Beth counted 16 separate videos. 16 times her husband had entered this building through back channels. 16 times he'd met with different men in private rooms. 16 times he'd exchanged briefcases or large packages wrapped in brown paper. Your husband has been laundering money through this auction house for the past 4 years. Diana's voice stayed level, professional, like she was presenting evidence in court. He purchases overpriced items using cash from illegal activities. We authenticate and sell them through legitimate channels. Clean money goes back to him, minus our commission. It's a classic laundering operation. 4 years. Beth's voice came out flat, dead. He proposed 4 years ago. We got married 4 years ago. Actually, Diana pulled up a spreadsheet. His first contact with the auction house was 4 years and 2 months ago. He began setting up the laundering scheme at approximately 2 months before your engagement. The timeline crashed over Beth like ice water. Our engagement lasted 6 months. We dated for 8 months before that. 14 months total from when you met to when you married. Diana highlighted entries on the spreadsheet. He initiated contact with Marcus's assistant 4 months before he proposed to you. He was already establishing the financial infrastructure. Beth shook her head. Denial felt easier than acceptance. No, we met at a gallery opening. Random. He approached me. We talked about the exhibit. It was organic. The gallery opening was hosted by Gerald Stevenson, one of Richard's business associates. Diana opened another file. An event invitation. Gerald Stevenson's name at the top. Richard Crawford listed as a sponsor. You were invited because you just published your thesis on Renaissance art fraud detection. The room tilted. Beth gripped the desk edge. How do you know about my thesis? I read it 3 times. Something like pride flickered across Diana's face. You caught a forgery that had fooled Sotheby's London. Your methodology was brilliant. Your analysis of paint, composition, and aging techniques was revolutionary. Every major auction house in the world read that paper, including Richard. Including Richard. Diana pulled up Beth's thesis on the screen. Annotations in the margins, highlighted passages. He needed someone with art authentication credentials, someone who could legitimize purchases, someone he could control, someone who would be grateful for his attention. The words landed like blows, each one precise, devastating. True. Beth remembered that first night, the gallery opening. She'd been wearing a dress from Target and shoes she'd bought on sale. Standing alone, studying a bronze sculpture, trying to look like she belonged among people who wore real diamonds. Richard had appeared at her elbow, tall, handsome, confident, interested. He'd asked her opinion on the bronze. She'd given her professional assessment, expecting him to walk away bored. Instead, he'd listened, asked questions, laughed at her jokes, made her feel seen for the first time in years. Looking back, she could see it now. He'd positioned himself perfectly, waited for her to be alone, asked exactly the right questions to make her talk, made her feel special. He'd hunted her. I'm going to be sick. Diana produced a small wastebasket from under the desk, moving it into position with practiced efficiency. Beth retched. Nothing came up, just dry heaves. Her stomach was empty. She'd been too nervous to eat at the auction preview. The baby kicked frantically, responding to Beth's distress. Beth tried to breathe, couldn't. Her corset panel felt like it was crushing her ribs. Diana's hand hovered near Beth's back. Didn't touch, wanted to, didn't presume permission. Breathe through your nose, Diana said quietly. 4 counts in, hold 4 counts. Out through your mouth, 4 counts, again. Beth tried, failed, tried again. Her vision narrowed to a tunnel. The edges went gray. Elizabeth, look at me. Diana moved into Beth's line of sight, knelt in front of her. Close, but not crowding. You're having a panic attack. You're safe. The baby is safe. Breathe with me. Diana breathed, exaggerated, loud enough for Beth to hear. In, hold, out, in, hold, out. Beth matched her rhythm. Once, twice, 3 times. The gray edges receded. Her vision cleared. The vise around her chest loosened. Better? Diana asked. Beth nodded. Couldn't speak yet. Diana stood, gave her space, walked to a small refrigerator built into the wall. She returned with a cold, damp cloth, handed it to Beth. Beth pressed it against her face. The coolness helped. The nausea receded. When the panic passed, Beth slid from the chair to the floor. Couldn't make it back to sitting upright. Just sat on the expensive carpet in her expensive dress, with her expensive life crumbling around her. Diana hesitated for 3 full seconds. Then she sat beside Beth on the floor. Not touching, just present. They stayed like that for 3 full minutes. The auction house clock ticked. Someone laughed in a distant corridor. The baby hiccuped inside Beth's belly. Beth counted the hiccups. 1, 2, 3, 4. The same counting she did at 3 in the morning when Richard's breathing changed and she waited to see if he'd reach for her or roll away. The counting she did when he came home late and she calculated how many drinks he'd had based on how hard he closed the car door. The counting she did when he reviewed her credit card statements and she waited to see which purchases would require explanation. She'd been counting her life in small moments of anxiety for 4 years. "He never loved me," Beth said finally. "Not once. Not ever." "No," Diana's voice stayed gentle, devastatingly gentle. "I don't think he did. I was just a tool, a credential he could use. Yes. He made me quit my job, said he wanted me to focus on being his wife, on building our home, on preparing for a family." Beth laughed. It sounded broken. "He wanted me dependent, isolated, controllable. That's what abusers do." Diana kept her voice clinical, professional. "They identify targets. They isolate them from support systems. They create dependence. They make the victim feel grateful for basic human decency." "Stop calling me a victim. What would you prefer I call you?" "I don't know." Beth wiped her eyes. Her mascara was probably ruined. Her perfect makeup that Richard had watched her apply, that he'd critiqued, that he'd made her redo twice before they left their apartment. But not that, not victim. "All right, what about survivor?" The word hung between them. Heavy, significant, true. Beth placed both hands on her stomach, felt the baby moving, alive, real, dependent on Beth to keep her safe, to make good choices, to be strong enough for both of them. "I can't stay with him," Beth whispered. "I know that now, but I don't have money for lawyers. I don't have anywhere to go. I'm 6 months pregnant and you'll stay with me." Diana said it like it was already decided, like there was no other option. "My apartment has a second bedroom. I have savings. Enough for excellent lawyers. Enough for you to be comfortable until the baby comes. Enough for you to rebuild. I can't accept." "You can." Diana's voice sharpened slightly. "You can accept help from the mother who failed you. You can be furious with me for leaving and still let me keep you safe now. Both things can be true simultaneously." Beth looked at her mother, really looked. Saw the lines around her eyes, the silver in her hair, the way she held herself like a weapon ready to deploy, but also the way her hands trembled slightly when she thought Beth wasn't watching. "I don't know how to trust you," Beth said. "You let me think you were dead. I grieved you. I went to your funeral. I cried at your grave. And it was all a lie. It was all necessary." Diana's composure cracked, just slightly, just enough. "The people I was investigating would have used you against me. They would have hurt you, killed you, made me watch. I had to protect you the only way I knew how. By abandoning me. By keeping you alive." Diana's voice broke. "I made a choice, Elizabeth. Your life or my presence in it. I chose your life. Every single day I chose your life." The words should have felt like comfort. They felt like grief. For the mother who could have been there. For the daughter who needed her. For all the years lost to choices made for good reasons that still destroyed what they were meant to protect. A knock interrupted them. Marcus Sotheby Grant entered without waiting for invitation. He moved like Diana, controlled, aware, dangerous underneath the refinement. "The FBI is here," he said. "They'd like to speak with Mrs. Crawford. If she's willing." Beth looked at Diana, then at Marcus, then at the monitors showing Richard's empty conference room. "What do they want to know?" Beth asked. Marcus smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Everything." The FBI agents were younger than Beth expected, a woman maybe 35, in a gray suit with her dark hair pulled back severely, a man early 40s with kind eyes and a wedding ring. "Mrs. Crawford, I'm Special Agent Reeves. This is Special Agent Chen." The woman shook Beth's hand, professional, firm. "We'd like to ask you some questions about your husband's business activities." "Am I under investigation?" Beth's voice came out stronger than she felt. "No." Agent Chen pulled out a chair for her, gestured for her to sit. "We believe you're a victim of your husband's criminal enterprise. But we need to establish what you knew and when you knew it." Diana remained standing near the window, watching, alert. Marcus stood beside her, arms crossed, a united front. Beth sat. The leather chair was cold against her back. She smoothed her dress over her pregnant belly. Protective, automatic. I don't know anything about Richard's business. Beth met Agent Reeves's eyes. He never discussed it with me. Said it would bore me. Said I should focus on the home. Did he ever ask you to authenticate artwork or antiques? Agent Reeves pulled out a tablet, started taking notes. No, never. Beth thought back, rifled through 4 years of memories. He knew about my background, my thesis, my work at the museum, but he never asked for professional advice. Did he ever bring items home? Artwork, jewelry, antiques? Sometimes, small things. He said they were gifts, investments. Beth tried to remember specifics. A Renaissance bronze last year, a set of medieval manuscripts 2 years ago, some jewelry. Nothing that seemed unusual. Agent Chen leaned forward. His voice was gentle. Mrs. Crawford, did your husband ever ask you to sign documents you didn't read? Transfer money between accounts? Receive packages at your home addressed to him? Beth's memory snagged on something. A month ago, maybe 6 weeks. Richard had come home agitated, snapping at her, drinking more than usual. He'd asked her to sign some papers. Partnership agreements, he'd said. Routine business. She'd signed them. Grateful he'd asked instead of demanded. Grateful he'd included her in something. He had me sign partnership documents about 6 weeks ago, Beth said slowly. I didn't read them carefully. He said they were routine. I trusted him. The agents exchanged glances. Agent Reeves made a note. Those documents, Diana said from her position by the window, made Beth a legal partner in one of Richard's shell corporations. If he's charged with money laundering, she could be charged as an accessory. The room tilted again. Beth gripped the chair arms. What? Don't worry. Agent Reeves's expression softened. We know you had no knowledge of the illegal activities, but we need you to be honest with us. Complete honesty. No protecting him, no minimizing. If he's done something wrong, we need to know. Beth thought about Richard's face when he'd hit her. The calculation, the rage, the entitlement. She thought about 4 years of walking on eggshells, 4 years of making herself smaller, 4 years of pretending everything was fine while drowning slowly. I'll tell you everything I know, Beth said, but I need immunity in writing. I need protection for my baby. And I need you to understand that I was as much his victim as anyone else he defrauded. Agent Chen smiled. We can work with that. They talked for 2 hours. Beth answered every question, described every suspicious conversation she could remember, every late-night phone call, every unexplained trip, every time Richard had insisted she stay home while he attended events alone. The memories piled up, small things she'd dismissed, red flags she'd ignored, signs she'd explained away because accepting them meant accepting her marriage was a lie. She told them about the papers she'd signed, the packages that arrived, the locked study she wasn't allowed to enter, the separate bank accounts she couldn't access, the prenuptial agreement Richard's lawyers had pressured her to sign 2 days before the wedding, giving her almost nothing in case of divorce. She told them everything, purged it all, let the truth spill out like poison she'd been storing in her body for years. When they finished, Agent Reeves closed her tablet. Thank you, Mrs. Crawford. This is helpful. Very helpful. What happens now? Beth asked. Now we get a warrant. Agent Chen stood. We'll search your residence, your husband's offices, his vehicles. We'll seize his financial records, his computers, his phones. We're building a case for money laundering, tax evasion, and fraud. Multiple felonies. How long will it take? Months, maybe a year. Agent Reeves handed Beth a business card. But we have enough to arrest him, probably tonight. You should plan to not go home. Beth looked at the card, the official seal, the phone number. Proof that this was real, happening, irreversible. I have nowhere else to go home, she said quietly. You have me. Diana's voice came from behind her. You have a home with me, for as long as you need it. The agents left. Marcus followed them, discussing logistics. Diana remained. Beth stood slowly, her back ached, her feet throbbed. The baby pressed against her bladder with renewed urgency. I need a bathroom, Beth said. Diana showed her to a private powder room off the office. Marble sink, expensive fixtures, fresh flowers in a crystal vase. Beth washed her hands, splashed cold water on her face. Looked at herself in the mirror. Her makeup was ruined, mascara smudged, lipstick gone. The left side of her face was red where Richard had hit her. Starting to swell, starting to bruise. She looked like what she was, a woman who just watched her life collapse. A woman who was 6 months pregnant and homeless and terrified. A woman who just signed documents that would send her husband to prison. A woman who was finally choosing herself. When she emerged, Diana was waiting. She held out Beth's coat, a soft cashmere wrap Beth had forgotten she'd checked at the coat room. Ready? Diana asked. Where are we going? Home, Diana said it simply, like it was obvious, like it was already decided. My home. Your home now. Wherever you need it to be. Beth took the coat, put it on. The cashmere was warm against her shoulders, soft, comforting. They walked through the empty auction house. The preview had ended. The guests had gone home to their mansions and penthouses, gossiping about the scandal they'd witnessed. The Crawford marriage imploding in public. The pregnant wife slapped by her millionaire husband. The mysterious appraiser who'd intervened. By tomorrow, it would be all over the society pages. By next week, Richard's arrest would be national news. By next month, Beth's life would be completely different. She couldn't imagine that future. Couldn't see past the next hour. The next day. Couldn't process the enormity of what she'd just done. So she didn't try. She just walked beside her mother through marble corridors and down wide stairs and out into the cold November night. Diana's car was waiting. A black sedan. Unremarkable. Perfect for someone who'd spent 30 years being invisible. Beth slid into the passenger seat. The leather was cold. She pulled her coat tighter. Diana started the engine, pulled into traffic. They drove through Manhattan in silence, past brownstones and bistros, past late-night coffee shops and darkened boutiques, past the life Beth had thought she was building. I've been watching you, Diana said finally. Quiet, careful. For the past 3 years, since I came back from my last assignment and realized I could finally stop running. I found you, tracked you down, watched from a distance. That's stalking. Beth kept her eyes on the passing city. Yes, Diana didn't apologize. It's also love, the only kind I knew how to give without putting you in danger. You know what coffee shop I go to? Tuesday mornings, Bleecker Street, decaf latte with oat milk. You sit in the corner booth and read for exactly 1 hour. The specificity should have felt violating. Instead, it felt like being seen, like someone had been paying attention, like someone had cared enough to notice. That's the only time Richard lets me out alone, Beth said. I know. Diana's hands tightened on the steering wheel. I've watched you shrink over the past 3 years. Watched you become smaller, quieter. Watched the light go out of your eyes piece by piece. Why didn't you contact me? Because you made it clear you didn't want to be found. You changed your name, deleted your social media, cut ties with everyone from your old life. Oop, Diana stopped at a red light, turned to look at Beth. I respected that, even when it killed me, because I'd already stolen enough of your choices. I couldn't steal that one too. The light changed. Diana drove. They crossed into the West Village. Narrow streets, old buildings, trees even in November. Diana pulled up in front of a pre-war building. Red brick, fire escapes, flower boxes in the windows. This is me, Diana said. 5th floor. Elevator works most of the time. They rode up in silence. The elevator was old but well-maintained. Brass fixtures, polished wood panels. It creaked but held steady. Diana's apartment was exactly what Beth expected, and nothing like it. High ceilings, original molding, hardwood floors, books everywhere, hundreds of them, thousands. Art on every chum, not reproductions, originals. Small museums would kill for this collection. Second bedroom is through there. Diana pointed to a closed door. I prepared it, just in case. Beth walked to the door, opened it, stopped. The room was perfect. A double bed with a firm mattress and maternity pillow. Blackout curtains, A dresser with the drawers slightly open, showing folded clothes. Maternity clothes. Beth's size. A changing table still in its box, leaning against the wall. Prenatal vitamins on the nightstand beside a glass of water. How long have you been planning this? Beth's voice came out barely above a whisper. Diana stood in the doorway. Since I found out you were married to Richard Crawford. Since I realized what he was. Since Marcus started investigating the money laundering. I didn't know when, but I knew eventually you'd need a way out. Beth walked to the closet, opened it. More maternity clothes. Good quality, practical. Her style, her size, her exact preferences. You bought all of this. I know your size. I know your style. I know. Diana stopped. I've been watching, making sure you were okay, making sure you were safe, even from a distance. Beth sat on the bed, bounced slightly, testing. The mattress was firm, supportive, exactly what she needed for her aching back. She'd been sleeping on Richard's preferred mattress for 4 years, too soft, her spine screaming every morning. This mattress was perfect. You remembered. Beth's voice broke. Or you never forgot. I never forgot anything. Diana's composure cracked. Not your favorite color, not how you take your coffee, not the way you chew your bottom lip when you're nervous, not the sound of your laugh, not one single thing in 23 years. Beth started crying, couldn't stop. 4 years of unshed tears, 23 years of abandonment, 6 months of carrying a baby conceived in a lie. Everything broke open at once. Diana stood in the doorway, didn't approach, didn't crowd, just waited. I don't know how to do this, Beth managed between sobs. Be a mother, leave my husband, trust you, any of it. Nobody does. Diana's voice was soft. You figure it out as you go. You make mistakes. You try again. You keep moving forward. Is that how you survived all those dangerous places, all those missions? That's how I survived leaving you. Diana looked away. Every day I told myself, one more day and she's safe. One more mission and I can go home. One more lie and maybe someday she'll forgive me. Did you ever plan to come home? Every single day. Diana met Beth's eyes. And every single day I chose your safety over my presence until you were old enough to choose for yourself and you chose to disappear. And I let you because I'd taken enough choices from you already. The honesty was devastating. Beth saw it now. Her mother's absence, her own disappearance, 2 women running from pain, finding each other again because violence had forced their hands. I'm exhausted, Beth said. Sleep. Diana moved to leave, stopped. I'm across the hall, doors open, if you need anything. If the baby kicks too hard, if you can't sleep, if you're scared, I'm here. Okay. Beth lay back on the perfect mattress. Thank you. Diana nodded, started to close the door. Mom? Beth hadn't called her that in 23 years. The word felt strange, foreign, right. Diana froze, turned, her eyes were wet. I'm glad you're not dead, Beth said. Diana's smile was tremulous, broken, beautiful. I'm glad I'm not dead too. She closed the door softly. Beth lay in the darkness, listening to her mother move around the apartment. Water running, cabinets opening and closing, the hiss of the radiator. Normal sounds, safe sounds, home sounds. The baby settled. Beth's breathing slowed. For the first time in 4 years, she felt safe enough to actually sleep. Beth woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows. For 3 full seconds, she didn't remember where she was. Then it crashed over her. The auction house, Richard's hand connecting with her face. Diana, the FBI, everything. She sat up too fast, the room spun. The baby protested with a series of kicks. Easy, she told her daughter. I know, this is weird for both of us. Her phone sat on the nightstand, 47 missed calls, 32 text messages. She didn't need to look to know they were from Richard, from Vivian, from Richard's lawyers, from people who wanted to control the narrative before it controlled them. She turned the phone face down, ignored it. The bedroom door was slightly ajar. Smells drifted through, coffee, toast, something sweet, cinnamon. Beth hauled herself out of bed. Her back ached less than usual. The firm mattress had helped. She found the bathroom, used it, washed her face, studied her reflection. The bruise on her left cheek had bloomed overnight, purple and yellow and ugly. Proof, evidence, truth. She found clothes in the dresser, soft leggings, a tunic sweater, thick socks. Everything fit perfectly. Diana had thought of everything. The apartment looked different in daylight, brighter, more lived in, books stacked on every surface, art covering every wall, a life built from careful choices and curated beauty. Diana stood in the kitchen, wearing jeans and a cashmere sweater, looking more human than Beth had ever seen her. She was making French toast. "Good morning." Diana glanced up. Her eyes went immediately to Beth's bruised cheek. Her expression hardened. "How do you feel?" "Like I got hit by my husband and found out my dead mother is alive and destroyed my marriage in one night." Beth sat at the small kitchen table. "So, about average?" Diana's mouth twitched. Almost a smile. She plated the French toast, added strawberries, poured orange juice, set it in front of Beth. "Eat. The baby needs fuel." Beth ate. The French toast was perfect. Crispy outside, soft inside, just enough cinnamon. Exactly how Beth's grandmother used to make it. How Beth had taught herself to make it after her grandmother died. "You remember how Grandma made this," Beth said. "I remember everything your mother told me about how her mother cooked." Diana poured coffee for herself, decaf tea for Beth. "I remember all the stories, all the recipes, all the family history, even though you left. Especially because I left." Diana sat across from her. "When you lose something, you hold on to every detail. You memorize it, you replay it, you try to keep it alive in your head because it's all you have left." Beth ate in silence, processed that. The baby kicked, responding to the sugar rush from the strawberries. "My phone has 47 missed calls," Beth said. "Don't answer them." Diana sipped her coffee. "Not yet. Not until we have a plan." "We? You don't have to do this alone." Diana set down her mug. "I have resources, connections, experience dealing with powerful men who think they're untouchable. Let me help." Beth wanted to refuse, wanted to maintain her independence, wanted to prove she could handle this herself. But she was 6 months pregnant and homeless, and her husband was probably hiring lawyers who cost more per hour than Beth used to make in a month. "What kind of plan?" Beth asked. "First, we get you a lawyer, the best. I know someone. Celeste Whitmore. She specializes in divorces involving high net worth individuals and abuse. She's expensive, but brilliant." "I can't afford." "I can." Diana's tone left no room for argument. "Consider it back payment for 23 years of missed birthdays." "That's not funny." "It's not meant to be, Estimam." Diana pulled out her phone, started typing. "Second, we get a restraining order. Richard hit you in public. We have witnesses. We have your bruise. We document everything. He'll fight it. He'll say I provoked him, that I'm unstable, that I'm... He can say whatever he wants. The judge will see your face and see you're 6 months pregnant, and he'll grant the order." Diana looked up. "Trust me on this. I've seen it 100 times." Beth touched her bruised cheek, felt the tender skin, the physical proof of what she'd known emotionally for years. Richard was dangerous, not in the way that made headlines, in the way that destroyed women slowly, piece by piece, until they forgot who they were. "Third," Diana continued, "we gather evidence. Financial records, emails, text messages, anything that proves Richard's been isolating you, controlling you, abusing you. We build a case for full custody and maximum child support." "I don't want his money." The words came out automatically, programmed by 4 years of being told she should be grateful. "Too bad." Diana's voice sharpened. "That baby is his child. He owes you both financial support. This isn't about wanting his money. This is about taking what you're legally entitled to, what you and your daughter need to survive." The practicality was harsh, necessary, real. "I don't know if I can do this," Beth said. "Face him in court. Fight him. He has so much more power than I do." "He has money." That's not the same as power. Diana leaned forward. You have truth, you have evidence, you have witnesses, you have me, and you have righteous anger. That's more powerful than his money will ever be. Beth wanted to believe her, wanted to feel that righteous anger, but mostly she just felt tired, scared, overwhelmed. Her phone buzzed. Another call. She glanced at the screen. Vivian. Diana took the phone gently from Beth's hand, answered it, put it on speaker. Elizabeth, this is unacceptable. Vivian's voice dripped with disdain. You will come home immediately. You will apologize to Richard for your behavior last night. You will drop this ridiculous drama and remember your place. This is Diana Hartwell, Diana said calmly, Elizabeth's mother. She won't be speaking with you or your son without her attorney present. All future communications should go through legal channels. Silence. Then Hartwell, the art historian who died in Russia. I got better. Diana's tone was pleasant, deadly. And I have some advice for you, Mrs. Crawford. Tell your son to hire a good criminal defense attorney. The FBI is executing a search warrant on his offices as we speak. He's going to need better representation than whatever society lawyers you've been using to bully people. You're bluffing. But Vivian's voice wavered. Am I? Check the news. Check your son's office. Then call me back when you're ready to discuss settlement terms that don't insult my daughter's intelligence. Diana ended the call. Beth stared at her mother. You just declared war on one of Manhattan's wealthiest families. No, they declared war on my daughter 4 years ago when they decided she was an acceptable target. Diana handed Beth his phone back. I'm just returning fire. Despite everything, Beth almost smiled. There was something satisfying about watching her mother go full protective mode. Something that felt like safety she hadn't experienced in decades. The FBI is really searching his office? Beth asked. Agent Reeves texted me an hour ago. They have warrants for Richard's office, your apartment, his vehicles, and 3 storage units registered in his name. Diana showed Beth her phone. Official text messages, legal language. Proof this was real. They're building a case. He'll probably be arrested by this afternoon. Beth's apartment, her home for 4 years, federal agents going through her things, her clothes, her books, the nursery she'd just finished decorating, the life she'd built, even if it was built on lies. I need to get some things, Beth said. My documents, photos, personal items. Make a list. I'll have someone retrieve them. You're not going back there. Not while Richard is free and angry. Diana stood, started clearing the breakfast dishes. He knows where you live. He knows your routines. He's probably already called in favors with security at the building. It's not safe. This is really happening. Beth's voice sounded distant, like she was narrating someone else's life. I'm really leaving him, getting divorced, raising this baby alone. Not alone. Diana turned from the sink. Her hands were wet, soap bubbles clinging to her fingers. You're not alone, Elizabeth, not anymore. Not if you don't want to be. The offer hung between them. Fragile, significant, terrifying. Beth thought about her mother's absence. All those years of hurt and anger and grief. The betrayal of being left. The wound that never fully healed. But she also thought about last night. Diana stepping between her and Richard without hesitation. Diana showing her the evidence. Diana offering her a home. Diana remembering how she liked her French toast. 23 years of absence. 1 night of presence. Neither erased the other. Both were true simultaneously. I need time, Beth said finally, to figure out who we are to each other now. To process everything. To not make decisions based on fear or desperation. That's fair, Diana dried her hands. Take all the time you need. The bedroom is yours. The apartment is yours. No pressure, no expectations, just safety while you figure things out. What if I can't forgive you? What if I'm too angry? Then you're angry. I can live with your anger. I can't live with you being hurt because I wasn't there to protect you. Diana's voice cracked slightly. I made choices, Elizabeth. I stand by them even though they cost me everything. But I'm here now, and I'll do whatever it takes to help you build a life where you never have to depend on a man like Richard Crawford ever again. The vehemence in her mother's voice was startling, raw, Real. Beth stood, walked to the window, looked out at the West Village street below. People walking dogs, couples holding hands. Life continuing normally while Beth's world was rearranging itself completely. I want custody, Beth said, full custody. I don't want Richard anywhere near my daughter unless I say so. Done. I want enough money that I never have to be grateful to him for basic survival. Done. I want my career back, my independence, my life. All of that is possible. Diana moved to stand beside her at the window, not touching, just present. You're smart, talented, qualified. You'll rebuild. It will take time. It won't be easy, but you'll do it. How do you know? Because you're my daughter. Diana's voice held quiet pride, and I know exactly how strong you are, even if you've forgotten. Beth looked at her mother, saw the silver hair, the lines around her eyes, the way she held herself ready for anything. A woman who'd survived 30 years in the most dangerous places on earth, who'd made impossible choices and lived with the consequences. If she could survive, maybe Beth could too. Okay, Beth said, let's do this. Let's destroy Richard Crawford. Diana smiled. It was not a nice smile. It was the smile of a woman who'd spent 3 decades learning exactly how to dismantle powerful men. Now you're speaking my language, Diana said. Celeste Whitmore's office occupied the top floor of a building in Midtown. Glass walls, modern art, furniture that cost more than Beth's car. The receptionist wore Prada and looked like she could kill someone with her manicure. Mrs. Crawford, Ms. Hartwell, Ms. Whitmore is expecting you. She gestured to a conference room. Please wait inside, she'll be with you shortly. Beth sank into a leather chair. Her back ached. The baby had been kicking it all morning, sensing Beth's anxiety, or maybe just running out of room. Diana poured water from a pitcher into heavy crystal glasses, handed one to Beth. Breathe, Celeste is on our side. She doesn't know me. Why would she be on my side? Because I called in a favor. Because she hates men like Richard. Because she's the best at what she does and she loves winning. Diana sat beside Beth. Trust me, you're going to like her. The door opened. Celeste Whitmore entered like she owned the world. 50-something. Black suit that screamed power. Red-soled heels that added 3 inches to her already impressive height. Silver jewelry. Perfect hair. Lips curved in a smile that promised blood in the water. Beth, she extended her hand. I'm Celeste. Diana tells me your husband is a cheating, abusive, money-laundering piece of work. My favorite kind of case. Beth shook her hand. Firm grip. Confident. That's an accurate summary. Good. I don't do well with clients who want to protect their husband's feelings. Celeste sat at the head of the table, opened her laptop. Let's talk strategy. First, your face. She pulled out her phone, started taking photos of Beth's bruised cheek. Multiple angles, different lighting, clinical, thorough. These go in our evidence file. Did you see a doctor? No, Beth touched her face. I didn't think. That's okay. We'll have you examined today. Document everything. Bruises, stress levels, blood pressure. All of it goes in the file. Celeste typed rapidly. Second, restraining order. I'm filing this afternoon. Judge Martinelli owes me a favor. We'll have it by tonight. That fast? Beth asked. Domestic violence with the pregnant victim? Yes, that fast. Celeste looked up. Richard will be prohibited from contacting you, from coming within 500 feet of you, from entering Diana's building. Violation means immediate arrest. The relief was dizzying. Beth hadn't realized how terrified she was of seeing Richard again, of him showing up, of him trying to convince her to come home. Third, divorce filing. I'm requesting full custody, child support based on his actual income, including illegal earnings, and a division of assets that accounts for your contribution to the marriage and his abuse. Celeste pulled up a document, started filling in fields. You'll get the apartment, half his legal assets, and enough child support that you'll never have to work again if you don't want to. I want to work, Beth said it firmly. I want my career back. I want to rebuild what I had before I met him. Good, that plays well in court. Independent woman forced to give up career. Wants to rebuild. Very sympathetic. Celeste smiled. But take the money anyway. It's not about need. It's about taking what's yours, about making him pay for what he did. Beth thought about that, about Richard's money, how he'd used it to control her, to make her grateful, to make her dependent. Taking it felt like justice, like reclaiming power, like refusing to be the victim he'd tried to make her. Take everything, Beth said. Every penny I'm entitled to. I want him to feel it. That's the spirit. Celeste's smile widened. Fourth, the FBI investigation. You'll cooperate fully. Give them everything they ask for. Testify if needed. Your cooperation will go a long way toward establishing you as a victim, not a co-conspirator. I signed documents. Beth's stomach churned. Partnership papers. He made me sign them 6 weeks ago. The FBI said that could make me an accessory. Did you know what you were signing? No, he said they were routine. I trusted him. Then you're fine. Coerced signature from an abuse victim who had no knowledge of the illegal activities. Any half-decent prosecutor will give you immunity in exchange for your testimony. Celeste made more notes. Diana says you have evidence of the abuse, the control? Beth pulled out her phone, opened her message history with Richard, scrolled through 4 years of texts. Where are you? Who are you with? Send me a photo right now. That dress is inappropriate. Change. You spent how much on groceries? Are you trying to bankrupt me? I'm reviewing your credit card statement. We need to talk. Why didn't you answer your phone? I called 3 times. You're embarrassing me. Get your act together. Hundreds of them. Thousands maybe. 4 years of constant surveillance disguised as caring. Celeste scrolled through them. Her expression hardened with each screen. This is textbook coercive control, financial abuse, isolation, surveillance. I've seen women killed by men who sent texts exactly like these. The words hit hard. Beth had known Richard was controlling, but hearing it labeled as precursor to murder made it real in a new way. He never hit me before last night, Beth said quietly, but I was always afraid he might. Does that make sense? Perfect sense. You were reading the warning signs. Your instincts were protecting you. Celeste closed Beth's phone, handed it back. We'll use all of this. Build a timeline, show the escalation, show the pattern, show that last night wasn't an isolated incident. It was the culmination of 4 years of abuse. Beth felt seen in a way she hadn't in years. Validated, believed, not crazy, not overreacting, not too sensitive. What about his mother? Beth asked. Vivian, she knew about Diana. She encouraged Richard to isolate me. She's going to fight this. Let her. Celeste's smile turned sharp. I love when the in-laws get involved. Makes them look petty and controlling. Helps our case. The more she fights, the worse she makes Richard look. She has money, connections, power. So do I. Diana spoke for the first time since Celeste arrived. Marcus Sotheby Grant has connections that make Vivian Crawford look like a nobody playing dress-up. And I have 30 years of collecting favors from very powerful people. If she wants a war, she'll lose. The certainty in her mother's voice was reassuring. Beth had forgotten what it felt like to have someone in her corner, someone willing to fight for her, someone with the skills and resources to actually win. When will Richard be arrested? Beth asked, based on the FBI timeline. Celeste checked her phone. Probably today. Tomorrow at the latest. They have him on money laundering. That's a federal charge. He'll be arraigned, possibly released on bail, possibly held depending on flight risk assessment. What if he makes bail? What if he comes after me? He won't. Diana's voice was flat, final. Even if he makes bail, he'll be too busy dealing with his legal problems to harass you. And if he violates the restraining order, he goes straight back to jail. He's not stupid. He'll stay away. Beth wanted to believe that, but she knew Richard, knew his ego, knew how he handled being told no. He's going to be so angry, Beth whispered. He's going to want revenge. Let him be angry. Celeste closed her laptop, leaned back in her chair. Angry men make mistakes. They violate orders. They threaten people. They dig their own graves. The angrier he is, the easier he is to destroy. The cold calculation should have bothered Beth. Instead, it felt like relief. like she'd finally found people who understood the game she'd been forced to play, who had better strategies, who knew how to win. Okay, Beth straightened her shoulders. What do I need to do? For now, nothing. Go home with Diana, rest, let me handle the paperwork. Celeste stood. I'll call you when the restraining order is approved. We'll schedule your medical exam. Start gathering financial documents. Building the case. But today, you rest. You've been through trauma. You need to recover. I don't feel traumatic. Beth touched her bruised cheek. I feel angry. Good. Celeste smiled. Anger is fuel. Use it, but don't let it consume you. Stay focused. Stay smart. Stay one step ahead. That's how we win. They left the office, rode the elevator down in silence, walked out into the cold November afternoon. Beth stopped on the sidewalk, looked up at the gray sky, breathed the cold air, felt the baby kick. I'm really doing this, she said. I'm really leaving him. Yes, Diana pulled her coat tighter. You really are. What if I can't do it? What if I'm not strong enough? You're strong enough. Diana's voice held absolute certainty. You survived 4 years with Richard Crawford. You survived being isolated and controlled and diminished. You survived being hit while 6 months pregnant. You're the strongest person I know. You barely know me anymore. I know you came from me. I know what I'm capable of surviving. You have the same strength, the same steel. You just forgot it was there. Diana started walking. Come on, let's go home. I'll make dinner. We'll watch terrible television. We'll pretend to be normal for one evening. Beth followed her mother down the street, past shops and restaurants, past people living their regular lives, past the world that kept turning even while Beth's world was ending and beginning simultaneously. Her phone buzzed, unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Then did. Beth Crawford? A male voice, professional, clipped. Yes? This is Agent Chen with the FBI. I wanted to inform you that Richard Crawford was arrested approximately 20 minutes ago at his office. He's been charged with money laundering, tax evasion, and wire fraud. Multiple counts. He's currently being processed. Beth stopped walking. Diana turned back, saw Beth's face. Is he in jail? Beth asked. For now, yes. Arraignment is tomorrow morning. Judge will decide on bail. Given the amounts involved and his resources, he'll probably make bail, but he'll have travel restrictions, electronic monitoring, the works. Okay, thank you. Mrs. Crawford, you did the right thing, cooperating with us, choosing yourself and your baby over him. That took courage. The kindness in his voice made Beth's eyes burn. It doesn't feel like courage. It feels like survival. That's what courage is. Agent Chen paused. Take care of yourself. We'll be in touch. He ended the call. Beth stood on the sidewalk, phone in hand, people flowing around her like water around a stone. He's arrested, she said to Diana. Richard's in jail. Diana didn't smile, didn't celebrate, just nodded. Good, that's the first step. What's the second step? You keep moving forward. You keep choosing yourself. You keep building a life that's yours. Diana took Beth's arm gently. Come on, let's go home. Home, the word felt strange, foreign, but also increasingly like something that might be true. Richard made bail, $2 million, posted by his mother within 6 hours of his arraignment. He walked out of jail wearing the same suit he'd worn when he was arrested, looking like he'd won something instead of been charged with federal crimes. Beth saw the photos on the news. Richard's smug face, Vivian beside him in her pearls and perfect hair, their lawyer making statements about presumption of innocence and political witch hunts. She turned off the television, couldn't watch anymore. He looks happy, Beth said. She sat on Diana's couch, her feet propped on pillows. The baby pressed against her ribs, making breathing difficult. Like he's not worried at all. He's performing for the cameras. Diana brought tea. Herbal, caffeine-free. Inside, he's terrified. The FBI doesn't arrest people without solid evidence. He knows that. His lawyer says the charges will be dropped, that it's all a misunderstanding. His lawyer is lying. Diana sat in the chair across from Beth. That's what defense attorneys do. They lie to the media, They lie to their clients. They create reasonable doubt where none exists. But the evidence is solid. Richard is going to prison. It's just a matter of how long. Beth wanted to feel satisfied, vindicated. Instead, she just felt tired and angry that she'd wasted 4 years on someone who never deserved her. Her phone rang. Celeste. "The restraining order is approved," Celeste said without preamble. "Effective immediately. I'm having it served to Richard at his apartment in about an hour. He cannot contact you, cannot come near you, cannot have any third party contact you on his behalf. Violation means immediate arrest." "Okay, good." Beth's voice sounded flat even to her own ears. "There's something else. Richard's lawyer called, wants to schedule a meeting, claims Richard wants to discuss settlement terms, wants to handle this quietly. Keep it out of the press." "Absolutely not." Diana's voice was sharp. She'd heard Celeste on speaker. "He doesn't get to dictate terms. He doesn't get to control the narrative." "I agree." Celeste's tone matched Diana's. "But we can use his desperation. Make him think we're considering it. Get him to make offers we can use against him later." "What kind of meeting?" Beth asked. "Neutral location, lawyers present, you, Richard, and our respective counsel. He'll try to pressure you, charm you, make promises. We'll document everything, build our case. I don't want to see him." Beth's hands shook. She set down her tea before she spilled it. "I can't, not yet." "You can." Diana leaned forward. "And you will, because he needs to see that you're not afraid anymore, that he doesn't control you, that you're done being his victim." The word victim scraped against Beth's skin. She still hated it, still rejected it, but she couldn't deny the truth underneath. "When?" Beth asked Celeste. "Tomorrow." His lawyer suggested tomorrow afternoon, 2 o'clock. Marcus Sotheby Grant has offered his conference room at the auction house. Neutral territory, security, cameras. The auction house, where this had all started 3 days ago, where Richard had hit her and Diana had saved her and everything had changed. Full circle felt appropriate. "Fine, tomorrow at 2. Beth's voice steadied. "But I have conditions." "Name them." "I want Diana there and Marcus, not just you. I want witnesses he can't intimidate." Beth's anger was building. Hot, clean, righteous. "And I want to speak first, before he gets to spin this, before he gets to make me the villain. I want to say my piece and have him sit there and listen." Celeste laughed, actually laughed. "Oh, I like you. Yes, absolutely. You'll speak first. I'll make sure his lawyer agrees to that condition. Otherwise, no meeting." They discussed logistics, details, strategy. When Beth hung up, her heart was racing. "You don't have to do this," Diana said quietly. "Not tomorrow. Not before you're ready. I'll never be ready, so I might as well do it now while I'm still angry enough to face him." Beth stood, paced. The baby protested the movement. "I want him to see what he did. I want him to look at my bruised face and know he did that. I want him to understand that I'm not coming back. He won't understand. Men like Richard never do." Diana watched Beth pace. "But you'll understand. You'll feel the difference between who you were when you were with him and who you're becoming without him." Beth stopped, looked at her mother. "How do you know?" "Because I've interrogated hundreds of men exactly like Richard. Powerful, entitled, convinced the rules don't apply to them. They don't change. They don't learn. They double down." Diana's voice was clinical, professional. "But their victims do change. They get stronger, angrier, more dangerous. That's what he'll see tomorrow. Not the woman he married, someone new." The description should have scared Beth. Instead, it felt like hope, like possibility, like becoming someone she actually wanted to be. That night, Beth couldn't sleep. She lay in the darkness, counting the baby's movements, planning what she'd say, rehearsing her words, trying to anticipate Richard's responses. At 3 in the morning, Diana knocked softly on her door. "Can't sleep?" "No." Beth sat up. "Too much adrenaline, too many thoughts." "Want some company?" "Yes." Diana came in, sat on the end of the bed. They didn't speak, just sat in comfortable silence while the city hummed outside the window. Finally, Diana said, "When I was 25, I had to infiltrate a group in Moscow. Dangerous people, murderers. I was terrified. Kept thinking I'd make a mistake, that they'd discover who I really was, that I'd die in some basement and nobody would ever know what happened to me." "What did you do?" Beth asked. "I pretended I wasn't terrified. I walked in like I owned the room, like I belonged there, like I was more dangerous than they were." Diana smiled slightly. "It worked. They believed the performance. After a while, I started believing it too." "You're saying I should pretend tomorrow, pretend I'm not scared." "I'm saying fear and courage aren't opposites. They coexist. You can be terrified and strong simultaneously." Diana turned to face Beth. "Tomorrow, you walk in like you own that room, like Richard is the one who should be afraid, like you're the most dangerous person there." "Am I, though? Dangerous? To him? Absolutely. You're the truth he tried to bury, the weakness he tried to hide, the crime he committed in public." Diana's voice was fierce. "You're the end of his perfect life, his reputation, his freedom." "Yes, Elizabeth. You're the most dangerous thing Richard Crawford has ever faced." The words settled into Beth's chest. Warm, solid, true. "Will you help me practice?" Beth asked. "What to say, how to say it." "Of course." They spent the next 2 hours rehearsing. Diana playing Richard, Beth practicing her statement, learning to speak without apologizing, without softening, without making herself smaller. By the time dawn broke, Beth was ready. The auction house looked different in daylight, less glamorous, more practical. Marcus met them at a private entrance, away from the main galleries where tourists and collectors browsed. "Beth," he shook her hand, "you look well, stronger." "I feel stronger." It was almost true. She wore one of Diana's suits, tailored to fit over her pregnant belly. Professional, powerful. The bruise on her face had faded to yellow-green but was still visible. Good. Let Richard see what he'd done. Conference room C, second floor. It's swept for bugs. Cameras are recording, but audio is off. Just video evidence. Marcus guided them through corridors. Richard and his attorney are already there. Vivian tried to attend. I denied her access. "Thank you." Beth's hands were steady. Her voice was steady. She felt like she was watching herself from a distance. Clinical, controlled, dangerous. Diana walked beside her, silent, present. A reminder that Beth wasn't alone. Celeste met them outside the conference room. She wore crimson, deliberate, aggressive. "Ready?" "Yes." Beth straightened her shoulders. "Let's do this." They entered. Richard sat at one end of the table, his lawyer beside him, expensive suit, silver hair, practiced expression of sympathy. Richard looked tired, lines around his eyes Beth didn't remember. His suit was rumpled. He needed a shave. The 3 days since his arrest had aged him. Good. His eyes went to Beth's bruised face. Something flickered there. Regret? Satisfaction? She couldn't tell. Didn't care. "Beth," his voice was soft, cajoling, the tone he used when he wanted something. "Thank you for agreeing to meet. I know this has been difficult." "I'll speak first." Beth sat at the opposite end of the table. Diana and Celeste flanked her, protective, united. "That was the condition for this meeting. I speak. You listen." Richard's lawyer started to object. Celeste cut him off with a look. "Let her speak," Celeste said. "Or we leave. Your choice was us." Richard nodded, waved his lawyer to silence. "Of course, go ahead." Beth looked at him. Really looked. At the man she'd married, the man she'd loved, the man she'd tried so hard to please. She felt nothing. No love, no hate, just a cold clarity that felt like freedom. "4 years ago, you approached me at a gallery opening," Beth began. Her voice was steady, strong. "I thought it was chance, romantic, fate. It wasn't. You researched me, targeted me, calculated exactly what to say to make me feel special." "Beth, Richard started. "I'm speaking." Beth's voice sharpened. "You'll sit there and listen, just like I sat through 4 years of your criticism and control and abuse." Richard closed his mouth. His jaw worked, but he stayed silent. You married me because I had credentials you could exploit, because I was isolated and grateful and easy to control. You made me quit my job, cut off my friends, made me dependent on you for everything. Money, housing, identity. You erased who I was and replaced me with who you wanted me to be. Beth's hands were folded on the table. Calm, controlled. She could do this. You monitored my phone, my credit cards, my location. You criticized how I dressed, how I spent money, who I talked to, where I went. You made me feel grateful for basic human decency. You made me think I was crazy for being unhappy. I was protecting you, protecting us. Richard's voice had an edge, the mask slipping. You don't understand the pressures I was under. The business was a fraud, money laundering, federal crimes. You weren't under pressure. You were a criminal using me as cover. Beth leaned forward. And when I accidentally bumped a display case, you hit me. In public, while I'm 6 months pregnant with your child. You hit me because it embarrassed you. The words hung in the air. Indisputable. True. That was a mistake. Richard's voice softened, apologetic, manipulative. I was stressed. I snapped. It won't happen again. I promise, Beth. Just come home. We can work this out. Go to counseling. Fix this. There's nothing to fix. Beth's voice was flat, final. You can't fix 4 years of abuse with an apology. You can't undo what you've done. You can't make me forget what you are. What I am, Richard's voice rose, the anger showing now, the real Richard underneath the charm. I gave you everything, a home, money, status. You'd be nothing without me. There it is. Beth almost smiled. The truth. You think I'm nothing. You've always thought that. I was just a tool, a credential, a trophy wife who validated your fake respectability. But that's not. Richard stood. His lawyer grabbed his arm, pulled him back down. Sit down, Richard. His lawyer's voice was sharp. You're making it worse. Beth continued. She was on a roll now. 4 years of silence breaking open. I'm divorcing you. I'm getting full custody. I'm taking half of your legal assets and enough child support that I'll never have to think about you again. And I'm testifying against you. Everything I know, everything I see, everything you made me sign, all of it. You can't. Richard's face was red, mottled. You signed a prenup. You get nothing. And if you testify, I'll destroy you. I'll make sure you never work again. I'll take the baby. You'll do nothing. Diana spoke for the first time. Her voice cut like ice. Because if you threaten my daughter again, I'll make sure every federal agency in this country knows every detail of your criminal enterprise. And trust me, Richard, I know things the FBI hasn't found yet. Richard stared at Diana, recognition dawning. You're the appraiser, the one who's been investigating you for 6 months, the one who handed the FBI their case, the one who's been documenting every move you make. Diana's smile was cold. You should have researched your wife's mother as thoroughly as you researched your wife. That was a mistake. Richard's lawyer was typing frantically on his laptop, probably looking up Diana Hartwell, probably finding the sanitized version of her career, probably realizing he was outmatched. This meeting is over. Richard stood. Beth, if you proceed with this divorce, I'll fight you on everything. Custody, money, all of it. You'll spend years in court, years of lawyers. You can't afford that. Actually, she can. Celeste stood as well. Diana Hartwell has extensive resources, and I work pro bono for abuse victims with wealthy ex-husbands. Your threats mean nothing. Your money means nothing. You're going to lose. It's just a matter of how much and how publicly. Richard looked at Beth. She saw the calculation in his eyes, trying to find the angle, the weakness, the vulnerability he could exploit. He wouldn't find it. She'd finally stopped giving him access to her weaknesses. I loved you, Richard said. Last resort, the emotional manipulation. I still love you. We can fix this. Please, Beth, don't do this. Think about our baby. She needs her father. She needs a father who isn't a criminal and an abuser. Beth stood. The meeting was over. You're not that person. You'll never be that person. Goodbye, Richard. She walked out. Diana and Celeste followed. The door closed behind them with a soft, final click. In the hallway, Beth's knees buckled. Diana caught her, supported her weight, held her steady. You did it, Diana said softly. You faced him. You said everything you needed to say. You won. It doesn't feel like winning. Beth's voice shook. It feels like ending something that should never have begun. That's what winning looks like sometimes. Diana kept her arm around Beth. Not triumph, just closure. Just the truth finally spoken out loud. They made it to Marcus's office before Beth started crying. Not sad crying, not scared crying, angry crying, 4 years of suppressed rage pouring out in huge, gasping sobs. Diana held her, didn't speak, didn't try to fix it, just held her while Beth cried out 4 years of pain. When the storm passed, Beth sat on Marcus's couch, exhausted, empty, lighter. I need to lie down, Beth said. The baby's doing gymnastics. I think she felt everything I was feeling. Let's go home. Diana helped her up. You've done enough for today. Tomorrow we'll deal with whatever comes next. But today, you rest. They went home. Beth slept for 4 hours straight, dreamless, deep, the kind of sleep that came after a battle was fought and survived. When she woke, Diana was cooking dinner, something that smelled like garlic and tomatoes and comfort. How do you feel? Diana asked. Beth thought about it, really thought. Different, stronger, angrier, but in a good way, like I finally have permission to be angry. You've always had permission. Diana stirred the sauce. You just didn't believe it. I believe it now. Beth sat at the kitchen table. What happens next? Next, Celeste files the divorce papers. We proceed with the custody case. You cooperate with the FBI. Richard goes to trial. Diana tasted the sauce, added salt. It will take months, maybe a year, but at the end, you'll be free. Free. The word tasted like possibility. And then what? Beth asked. Then you decide who you want to be, what you want to do, how you want to live. Diana turned to face her. For the first time in 4 years, you get to choose. No one controlling you, no one limiting you, just you and your daughter and a future you build yourself. Beth placed her hands on her stomach, felt the baby moving, strong, insistent, alive. I want to go back to work, Beth said. Eventually, when the baby's old enough, I want my career, my independence, my identity back. You'll have it. Diana's voice was certain. Jamie Torres called, asked if you'd consider consulting for the museum, part-time, work from home, starting whenever you're ready. Jamie called you? He called Marcus. Marcus told me. I told him I'd pass along the message when you were ready to hear it. Diana brought 2 plates to the table, pasta with tomato sauce. Simple. Perfect. He also said to tell you that your position is waiting. When you want it, no pressure, no timeline, just an open door. Beth's eyes burned. Kindness still surprised her. The concept that people might want her for her skills rather than what they could take from her. Tell him yes, Beth said. Tell him I'll start consulting after the baby's born. Tell him thank you. I will. Diana sat across from her. They ate in comfortable silence. After dinner, Beth sat by the window, watched the city lights flicker on, counted the baby's kicks, thought about the future. It wasn't the future she'd planned 4 years ago. It was better, harder, more uncertain, more hers. She could live with that. The baby came 3 weeks early, 2 in the morning on a Tuesday in December. Beth woke to cramping and wetness in the sudden knowledge that everything was about to change. Diana. Her voice was calm, too calm, shock, maybe. My water broke. Diana was up instantly, dressed in 30 seconds, grabbed the hospital bag they'd packed 2 weeks ago, called the car service, timed contractions. How far apart? Diana's voice was controlled, professional, CIA mode. I don't know, just started. Beth breathed through another contraction, stronger than she expected. Maybe 5 minutes. We need to go. Now. The hospital was 15 minutes away. Beth counted 6 contractions during the drive. Strong, regular. Getting closer together. She's coming fast, Diana said. That's good. Fast births are usually easier. How do you know that? Beth gripped the car door as another contraction hit. I've delivered 3 babies in the field, 2 in Afghanistan, 1 in Yemen. Yours will be much easier. You have doctors and hospitals and drugs. Diana's attempt at humor fell flat. You're doing great. They arrived at the hospital, wheelchair, intake, labor and delivery room. Jar Brennan appeared calm and competent. How are we feeling, Beth? She checked Beth's cervix. Oh, 7 centimeters already. You're moving fast. Should have a baby by dawn. Labor was worse than Beth expected and not as bad. Pain, yes, but purposeful pain. Pain that meant something, pain that would end with her daughter in her arms. Diana stayed, never left. Held Beth's hand through contractions. Breathed with her, counted, encouraged. Became the mother she hadn't been able to be 29 years ago when Beth was born. You're doing so well, Diana said for the 100th time. So strong, so brave. I'm not brave. I'm just trying not to die. Beth laughed, then cried, then laughed again. Hormones and pain and exhaustion making everything sharper. You're braver than you know. Diana wiped Beth's forehead with a cool cloth. You've survived so much. This is just one more thing. At 6:17 in the morning, Charlotte Grace Crawford entered the world. 7 pounds, 3 ounces, dark hair, gray-green eyes, perfect. They placed her on Beth's chest, warm, wet, Elise, crying. Beth cried too, relief and joy and terror and love all at once. Hello, baby girl, Beth whispered. I'm your mom. I'm going to mess this up sometimes, but I'll try, I promise, I'll try. Charlotte stopped crying, opened her eyes, looked at Beth with that intense newborn focus, like she was memorizing her mother's face. Diana stood back, giving them space. But Beth saw her face, saw the tears streaming down, saw the longing and grief and love. Come here, Beth said. Come meet your granddaughter. Diana approached like she was approaching something holy. Reverent, careful, terrified. Can I? Diana's voice broke. Can I hold her? Yes. Beth adjusted Charlotte, made room. Hold her, she's your granddaughter. Diana took Charlotte in arms that had held weapons and casualties and stolen documents. Arms that had never held a baby. Not since Beth was born. Not since the day Diana had decided to become someone else. Charlotte studied Diana, serious, judging. Then she made a small noise. Not crying, just acknowledgement. Diana made a sound between a sob and a laugh. She looks like you did when you were born. Same eyes, same chin, same serious expression. She looks like us. Beth watched her mother hold her daughter. 3 generations. Connected by biology and damage in the slow work of healing. She's ours. Diana sat in the chair beside Beth's bed, still holding Charlotte, unable to look away. I'm sorry, Diana whispered, for not being there when you were born, for missing your entire childhood, for choosing wrong every single day. You chose right. Beth was surprised to hear herself say it, surprised to realize she meant it. You kept me safe. You did your job. You saved people. Those were good choices, hard choices, but good. They cost us everything they gave us right now. Beth reached out, touched her mother's hand. We lost 23 years, but we have this moment. We have every moment from here forward. That's not nothing. Diana looked at Beth, really looked. When did you become so wise? When I became responsible for someone other than myself. Beth looked at Charlotte. She needs me to be better, stronger, kinder. So I will be. They sat in silence. Morning light streaming through the hospital window. The city waking up outside. Inside, 3 women starting something new. Dr. Brennan came back to check on them, smiled at the scene. Doing okay? Better than okay. Beth felt exhausted and elated and terrified and perfect. We're perfect. Good. Get some rest. You'll need it. Babies don't sleep much. Dr. Brennan made notes on her chart. Is there anyone else you want to call? The father? Beth and Diana exchanged glances. No, just us. We're all she needs. Fair enough. Brennan left them alone. Diana handed Charlotte back to Beth. You should sleep. I'll watch her. Make sure she's breathing. Make sure she's safe. Will you stay? Beth asked. Not just today, but always. Help me raise her. Be the grandmother she deserves, the mother I needed. Diana's composure finally shattered completely. She sat on the edge of Beth's hospital bed, put her face in her hands, sobbed. Is that a yes? Beth asked gently. Yes. Diana's voice was muffled, wrecked. Yes, I'll stay. I'll help. I'll be whatever you both need me to be. We need you to be you, exactly as you are. Damaged and dangerous and trying. Beth shifted Charlotte to one arm, used the other to pull Diana close. That's enough. You're enough. They stayed like that. Mother, daughter, granddaughter. A family that had been broken and was being rebuilt. Not the same as before. Something new. Something chosen. Beth dozed, woke, fed Charlotte, dozed again. Diana stayed, watching, present. Finally present after 23 years of absence. When Beth woke fully, afternoon light filled the room. Diana sat by the window, holding Charlotte, reading to her from a book of poetry. She can't understand that, Beth said sleepily. I'm not reading for her comprehension. I'm reading so she knows my voice, so she learns that words matter, that beauty exists, that the world is bigger than this room. Diana looked up. Your grandmother read to you like this. I want Charlotte to have that too. You remember my grandmother reading to me? I remember everything. Diana's voice was soft. Every story, every song, every moment I was there before I had to leave. Beth watched her mother hold her daughter, saw the gentleness, the careful reverence, the way Diana touched Charlotte's tiny fingers like they were made of glass. You're going to be a good grandmother, Beth said. I'm going to try my... Diana kept her eyes on Charlotte. I failed as a mother. I won't fail as a grandmother. I won't let you down again. You didn't fail, Beth said it firmly. You made impossible choices in impossible situations. You protected me the only way you knew how. That's not failure. That's survival. Diana finally looked at her. When did you decide to forgive me? I haven't. Not completely. Not yet. Beth was honest. But I'm trying. That's all anyone can do. Try, fail, try again. That's what you taught me. That's what you taught me. Diana smiled, sad, real. By surviving Richard, by choosing to leave, by being stronger than I ever was. They were interrupted by a knock. Celeste entered, carrying flowers in a gift bag. Congratulations. She set the flowers on the side table. She's beautiful. Thank you. Beth felt proud, maternal, like she'd done something miraculous. She had. How did you know? Diana texted me. I hope it's okay that I came. Celeste pulled out the gift, a cashmere baby blanket. Expensive, soft, perfect. I wanted to give you this, and some good news. What news? Beth sat up straighter, interested despite her exhaustion. Richard's trial date is set, 4 months from now. His lawyers tried to get the charges dismissed. Judge denied the motion. You'll need to testify, but the prosecution is confident. Celeste sat in the chair Diana had vacated. And the divorce is almost finalized. His lawyers tried to fight the custody arrangement. Judge denied that too. You get full custody. He gets supervised visitation once he's out of prison. How long will he be in prison? Beth asked. Federal sentencing guidelines for money laundering of this magnitude? Minimum 5 years, probably 7 to 10 with all the counts. Celeste smiled. He'll be in his late 40s when he gets out. Charlotte will be old enough to decide if she wants a relationship with him. You'll be well established in your own life. He'll have no power over you. The relief was dizzying. Beth hadn't realized how much she'd been holding her breath, waiting for Richard to find a way to win, to manipulate the system, to take Charlotte from him to you. Thank you, Beth said, for everything, for believing me, for fighting for me. That's my job. Celeste stood to leave. You fought for yourself, Beth. I just gave you the tools. The courage was all yours. After she left, Diana returned to her chair. Charlotte was asleep, making small snuffling sounds. She's right, you know, Diana said. The courage was yours. You chose to leave. You chose to fight. You chose yourself and your daughter over the easy path. The easy path would have been staying, pretending, surviving. Beth looked at Charlotte. But she deserves better. She deserves a mother who's whole, who's strong, who shows her that you don't accept being treated badly just because someone has money or power or charm. You're going to raise an amazing woman. Diana's voice held quiet pride. We're going to raise her, Beth corrected. Together, you and me, teaching her everything we've learned, all the hard lessons, all the survival skills, all the love we didn't know how to give each other, but learned eventually. Diana nodded, couldn't speak, just held Charlotte and cried quietly while the city moved on outside and inside. Three women began building something new. 4 months later, Beth stood outside the federal courthouse in Manhattan, Charlotte strapped to her chest in a carrier, sleeping peacefully. Diana beside her, Celeste on her other side, a united front. Ready? Celeste asked. No. Beth touched Charlotte's head, soft, warm, real. But I'm doing it anyway. The courtroom was packed, press in the gallery, Richard's supporters, people Beth didn't recognize, the curious who wanted to watch a millionaire fall. Richard sat at the defense table. He'd lost weight, looked older. Prison had been hard on him during the months of pre-trial detention after he'd violated his bail conditions by trying to contact Beth through a mutual acquaintance. He turned when Beth entered. His eyes went to Charlotte. Something crossed his face. Regret? Loss? Beth couldn't tell. Didn't care. She was called to the stand, sworn in, sat with Charlotte sleeping against her chest. The prosecutor was a woman, 40-something, no-nonsense suit, kind eyes. Mrs. Crawford, can you tell us about your marriage to the defendant? Beth took a breath, looked at Diana in the gallery. Her mother nodded, encouraging, present. He targeted me, Beth began. 4 years ago, he researched me, found out about my expertise in art authentication, arranged to meet me, made me fall in love with him, then systematically isolated me, controlled me, used me to legitimize his criminal enterprise. She told the story, all of it. The text messages, the financial control, the isolation, the monitoring, the progression from psychological abuse to physical violence. Richard's lawyer tried to interrupt. The judge shut him down. The witness will continue, Judge Morrison said. She was older, gray-haired, sharp-eyed. She'd heard 10,000 cases, believed none of the lies. Beth continued. She talked about signing documents she didn't understand, about the auction house, about Diana's investigation, about the slap that changed everything. Did you know your husband was laundering money? The prosecutor asked. No, not until the FBI told me. He kept me deliberately ignorant, made me a shield. If I'd known, I would have reported him immediately. And why didn't you report his abuse earlier? Because I didn't recognize it as abuse. He never hit me before the auction house. He was just controlling, critical, demanding. I thought that was normal. I thought I was the problem. Beth's voice strengthened. But I wasn't the problem. He was, and when I finally recognized that, I left. Richard's lawyer cross-examined her. Tried to make her look vindictive, greedy, lying. She answered every question calmly, honestly, didn't take the bait. Isn't it true you're divorcing Mr. Crawford to access his money? I'm divorcing Mr. Crawford because he hit me while I was pregnant and I refused to raise my daughter in an abusive household. Beth looked directly at Richard. The money is legally mine. Child support. Division of marital assets. I earned every penny by surviving 4 years of his control. The cross-examination lasted 2 hours. Beth never wavered, never apologized, never made herself smaller. When she stepped down, Diana was crying in the gallery. Not sad tears, proud tears. The trial lasted 3 days. Diana testified about the investigation. Marcus testified about the money laundering scheme. FBI agents presented evidence. Financial experts explained the transactions. Richard's lawyers argued he was a businessman making legitimate deals, that Beth was a vindictive ex-wife. that the government was overreaching. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Richard stood as the verdict was read. His face went white. His lawyer put a hand on his shoulder. Vivian made a sound in the gallery. Outrage, disbelief. Judge Morrison set sentencing for 6 weeks later. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Cameras, microphones. Questions shouted over each other. "Mrs. Crawford, how do you feel about the verdict?" "Vindicated," Beth said. Charlotte stirred against her chest but didn't wake. "Justice isn't always perfect, but today was close enough. What will you do now?" "Raise my daughter, rebuild my career, live my life on my own terms." Beth looked at Diana. "With the support of my family." "Your mother is a former CIA operative. Did she use her skills to help take down your husband?" "My mother used her skills to keep me safe, to give me options, to show me I didn't have to stay in an abusive situation." Beth's voice was firm. "She saved my life. Anything else is between her and the FBI." They walked away from the cameras, into a waiting car, back to Diana's apartment. Home. Charlotte woke up demanding food. Beth nursed her while Diana made dinner. Celeste stopped by with champagne. They toasted with sparkling cider. "To justice," Celeste said. "To survival," Diana added. "To new beginnings," Beth finished. They drank, they laughed, they cried, they celebrated not the destruction of Richard, but the liberation of Beth. Later, after Celeste left and Charlotte was asleep and the city was quiet, Beth and Diana sat on the couch. "Thank you," Beth said, "for everything, for saving me, for staying, for being the mother I needed when I needed you." "I should have been there sooner." Diana's voice held old regret. "You were there exactly when I needed you." Beth leaned against her mother's shoulder. "Not a day earlier, not a day later, right on time." "How very optimistic of you." "I learned it from you." Beth smiled. "The ability to survive impossible situations, to make hard choices, to keep moving forward. That's all you. I'm just following your example." Diana put her arm around Beth's shoulders. They sat in comfortable silence. "What's next?" Diana asked. "After the sentencing, after the divorce is final?" "I start consulting for the museum next month. Part-time, work from home, build up my client list, my reputation." Beth thought about the future. "Eventually, maybe open my own authentication firm, be my own boss, build something that's completely mine." "You'll be brilliant." "I'll try," Beth corrected. "That's all anyone can do." "Try, fail, try again." Diana's voice was soft. "That's what I taught you. That's what we taught each other." Beth stood. "I'm going to check on Charlotte, then sleep. Tomorrow we deal with whatever comes next. But tonight I'm just going to be grateful we survived." She went to her room, looked at Charlotte sleeping in her bassinet, touched her daughter's soft hair, breathed in that baby smell. "Your father is going to prison," Beth whispered. "You'll grow up without him. I'm sorry about that, but I'm not sorry for choosing us over him. I hope someday you understand." Charlotte slept, peaceful, innocent, protected. Beth went to bed. For the first time in 4 years, she slept without anxiety, without fear, without counting breaths or footsteps or the minutes until something went wrong. She slept like someone who was finally safe. 6 months later, Beth stood in her new apartment, not Diana's place, her own, small but bright. 2 bedrooms. Windows that overlooked a park. Affordable. Safe. Hers. Charlotte babbled from her bouncy seat. 8 months old now, sitting up, eating solid food, developing a personality. Stubborn, determined, smart, like her mother, like her grandmother. The divorce had finalized 3 months ago. Richard sentenced to 8 years in federal prison, eligible for parole after 5. Supervised visitation with Charlotte once he was released. If Charlotte wanted a relationship with him, Beth doubted she would. But that was Charlotte's choice to make, not hers. Beth worked 3 days a week from home, consulting for the museum, authenticating pieces, writing reports, building her reputation back. Jamie had been patient, supportive, professional, and maybe, occasionally, something else. He stopped by with coffee sometimes, brought books for Charlotte, made Beth laugh, didn't push, just offered friendship with the possibility of more someday if Beth wanted it. She wasn't ready yet, but maybe eventually. Diana visited twice a week, scheduled, predictable. She and Beth were learning each other, building a relationship from scratch. It wasn't perfect. They argued sometimes, clashed over parenting decisions, had different opinions about everything from politics to how to load a dishwasher. But they showed up. That was what mattered. They kept trying, kept choosing each other, kept building something real. The doorbell rang. Beth checked the peephole. Jamie. She opened the door. Hey. He held up takeout bags. Thai food. Your favorite. Charlotte's asleep? Just went down. We have approximately 45 minutes before she demands attention. Beth took the bags, inhaled. You're a saint. They ate on her small balcony. The summer evening was warm. The city sprawled below. Alive. Noisy. Beautiful. I have news, Jamie said. The museum board approved your proposal. Full authentication position. Your own department, your own team. When you're ready. Beth set down her fork. What? The proposal was theoretical. I didn't expect. You're brilliant. Everyone knows it. We want you back full time. No pressure, no timeline, but the position is yours. Jamie smiled. You've more than proved yourself with the consulting work. You're ready for this. Beth looked at her tiny apartment, her sleeping daughter, her leftover Thai food, her life, small, imperfect, completely hers. I'll think about it, she said. I'm good at thinking now, taking my time, making choices that are mine. Take all the time you need, Jamie's voice was gentle. For what it's worth, I think you're amazing. What you survived, how you rebuilt. You're the strongest person I know. I'm not strong, I'm just done being weak. Beth smiled slightly. There's a difference. Is there, Jamie asked. Maybe there was, maybe there wasn't. Beth was still figuring it out. Her phone buzzed. Diana, can I take Charlotte to the park tomorrow? New playground, age appropriate. Beth typed back. Yes, but I'm coming too. We'll go together. 3 dots appeared. Then, I'd like that very much. Beth saved the message, added it to the thread of 6 months of careful communication. She scrolled through occasionally, watching the progression, Diana's messages getting warmer, more personal, more maternal, her own responses softening. Walls coming down one text at a time. She did what she did now when feelings came up, sat with them, didn't run, didn't judge, just felt, grateful and angry and hopeful and uncertain all at once. Feelings didn't have to make sense. They just had to be felt. Charlotte woke up crying. Beth brought her out to the balcony, bounced her, breathed in that baby smell. Jamie watched with soft eyes. You're a natural mom, he said. I'm terrified every single day. Beth kissed Charlotte's head. But I'm here, present, choosing her. That's what matters. Your mom chose you too, in her own way. I know. Beth did know, finally. It doesn't make it hurt less, but it makes it make sense. Jamie left an hour later. Beth put Charlotte to bed, read to her from a poetry book Diana had given them. The same book Diana's mother had read to Diana. The same book Diana had read to Beth before she left. 3 generations, connected by words and love in the slow work of healing. After Charlotte was asleep, Beth stood at the window, watched the city lights, thought about the future. Her phone rang, unknown number. She almost didn't answer, then did. Elizabeth Crawford? A woman's voice, professional, serious. Yes? This is Agent Reeves. I wanted to inform you that Richard Crawford has been transferred to a medium security facility upstate. His mother attempted to circumvent the no-contact order through a third party. That violation has been documented. She's been warned any future attempts will result in charges. Good, thank you. Beth felt nothing, no satisfaction, no vindication, just exhaustion with the Crawford family's inability to accept reality. There's something else. Agent Reeves paused. We've been investigating Richard's business partners. Following the money trail, we've found evidence of trafficking, not just money, people, specifically women and children. Beth's stomach dropped. What? Richard wasn't directly involved, but his money was being used to finance operations. We're building a case. Arrest will happen soon. Agent Reeves's voice softened. I wanted you to know, so you understand fully what you escaped, what Charlotte escaped. Beth sat down hard. The room spun. He was funding traffickers? Indirectly. Probably didn't know the full extent, but yes, his greed and criminal activity enabled very evil people to hurt very vulnerable people. Agent Reeves paused. You did the right thing, Mrs. Crawford. Leaving him, testifying, you may have saved more lives than you know. The call ended. Beth sat in the darkness, processing. Richard's crimes extended beyond money laundering, beyond fraud. His greed had funded operations that destroyed lives, children's lives. She thought about Charlotte sleeping peacefully in the next room, safe, protected, free from a father whose criminal enterprise had such far-reaching consequences. She'd made the right choice. She knew that now with absolute certainty. The next morning, Diana arrived early. Beth told her about Agent Reeves's call. Diana's face went hard. I suspected as much. The amounts, the patterns, the people Richard was meeting with. She shook her head. I'm glad you got out when you did. Me too. Beth lifted Charlotte from her high chair. Wipe pureed sweet potato off her face. I keep thinking about all the times I almost stayed, almost believed him, almost gave in. But you didn't. Diana took Charlotte, bouncing her gently. You chose differently. That's what courage looks like, not the absence of fear, the choice to act despite it. They spent the morning at the park. Charlotte delighted in the swings. Diana pushed her gently, laughing at her granddaughter's squeals. Beth watched them. 3 generations connected by trauma and survival in the deliberate choice to build something better. A woman approached, older, well-dressed, vaguely familiar. Beth Crawford? She extended her hand. I'm Margaret Ashford. I was at the auction house that night. When the incident occurred? Beth shook her hand warily. I remember. You were near the front. I wanted to tell you something. Margaret glanced at Diana, at Charlotte. My daughter was in a similar situation. Wealthy husband, controlling, isolating. I begged her to leave. She wouldn't. Couldn't. She was too afraid. Beth's chest tightened. What happened? He killed her 3 years ago, made it look like an accident. The police knew. Everyone knew, but they couldn't prove it. Margaret's voice was steady, but her eyes were haunted. When I saw you that night, saw you get hit, saw that woman step in and protect you, I wanted to intervene, but I was paralyzed, remembering my daughter, how she needed someone to save her, and no one did. I'm so sorry. Beth didn't know what else to say. Don't be sorry, be proud. Margaret touched Beth's arm. You saved yourself. You saved your daughter. You testified. You put him away. You did what my daughter couldn't do. And watching you do it helped me finally start healing. She walked away before Beth could respond. Diana had heard the exchange. She moved closer to Beth. That could have been you. I know. Beth watched Margaret disappear into the crowd of parkgoers. Richard would have killed me eventually. Maybe not physically, but he was killing who I was, piece by piece, until nothing was left. But you didn't let him finish. Diana's voice was fierce. You fought back. You chose life. You chose Charlotte. You chose yourself. They walked home slowly, Charlotte babbling in her stroller, the city moving around them, life continuing in its messy, complicated, beautiful way. That evening, Beth received an email from the museum. Official offer letter, department head, full-time position, generous salary, benefits, flexibility for Charlotte. She read it 3 times, then called Jamie. I got the offer letter, she said. And? His voice was cautious, hopeful. I accept, starting in 3 months, after Charlotte's first birthday, after I'm ready. Beth smiled. Thank you for believing in me, for waiting, for giving me the space to rebuild. You rebuilt yourself, Beth. I just held the door open. Jamie's voice was warm. Congratulations. You deserve this. After she hung up, Beth sat with the feeling. Professional success, financial independence, a future built on her own terms. It felt fragile, precious, hard-won. Diana knocked on her door. Can I come in? Always. Diana sat on Beth's couch, looking uncertain. vulnerable in a way Beth rarely saw. I have something to tell you, Diana said. Marcus offered me a position, consulting, using my expertise to help museums and collectors identify looted artifacts, recovering stolen cultural heritage, returning it to the countries it was taken from. That sounds perfect for you. Beth sat beside her mother. Why do you look worried? Because it means travel, potentially months at a time. And I promised you I'd stay. I promised Charlotte I'd be here. I don't want to leave again. I don't want to miss anything. Diana's voice cracked. But this work matters, and I'm good at it, and I don't know how to choose. Beth understood the dilemma, the pull between purpose and presence, between doing important work and being there for the people you love. You're not choosing, Beth said firmly. You're doing both. You travel for work. You come home between assignments. You video call every day. You're present in the ways that matter. Charlotte will grow up knowing her grandmother travels to recover stolen art. That's pretty amazing. You're sure? Diana asked. You're okay with this? I'm sure. Beth took her mother's hand. You taught me that love isn't about perfect presence. It's about showing up imperfectly, repeatedly, courageously. About doing the work you're meant to do while maintaining the connections that matter. You can have both. You should have both. Diana's eyes filled. When did you become so wise? I learned from the best. Beth smiled. A woman who made impossible choices in impossible situations and kept going anyway. Who taught her daughter that strength isn't about never falling. It's about getting back up every single time. I love you, Elizabeth. Diana said it simply, the first time she'd said it out loud in 23 years. I never stopped. Not for 1 second in all those years. Not once. I know. Beth leaned against her mother's shoulder. I think I always knew. Even when I hated you. Even when I was convinced you'd abandoned me. Somewhere deep down, I knew you loved me. I just didn't understand how you showed it. I showed it badly. Diana's arm came around Beth's shoulders. I chose your safety over your happiness. Your life over our relationship. I'd make the same choices again, but I regret the cost. The cost was high. Beth didn't sugarcoat it. Couldn't. But we survived it, both of us, and now we get to build something new. Not the relationship we lost. Something different, maybe better. When they sat in comfortable silence, Charlotte made noises from her crib. Not crying, just talking to herself in that way babies do. Processing her day in babbles and coos. She's going to be extraordinary, Diana said. Raised by you, loved by you, protected by you. She'll never doubt she's valued. She'll never have to earn love through compliance. She'll just be loved, completely, unconditionally. That's the plan. Beth stood, went to check on Charlotte, found her awake playing with her toes. Hey, baby girl, can't sleep? Charlotte grinned, reached for her mother. Beth lifted her, breathed in that baby smell, felt the solid weight of her daughter in her arms. Diana appeared in the doorway, watching, smiling. What? Beth asked. Nothing, just this. You and Charlotte, the life you're building, the woman you're becoming. Diana's voice was thick with emotion. I'm proud of you. So incredibly proud. Thanks, Mom. The words still felt strange sometimes, but increasingly right. I'm proud of us, of what we survived, of what we're building. They put Charlotte back to bed together, singing softly, touching her gently, united in their love for this tiny human who connected them in ways they were still discovering. After Charlotte was asleep, Diana prepared to leave. She had an early flight the next morning. Her first assignment, 3 weeks in Greece, tracking stolen antiquities. Call when you land, Beth said. I will. Every day, morning and night. Diana hugged Beth, held on tight. Thank you for giving me another chance, for letting me be part of your life, part of Charlotte's life. Thank you for saving me when I needed it. Beth pulled back, looked at her mother. For being there at exactly the right moment, for showing me I was worth saving. Diana left. Beth locked the door behind her, stood in her small apartment, her home, her life. She thought about Margaret Ashford's daughter, about all the women who didn't escape, who didn't survive, who couldn't find the strength or resources or support to leave. She thought about how close she'd come to being one of them. She thought about the choice she'd made in that auction house, in that moment, to accept help from a mother who'd abandoned her, to trust despite every reason not to choose the uncertain future over the known prison. That choice had saved her life, and Charlotte's, and given her a future she'd never imagined. She went to bed, slept deeply, dreamed of Charlotte growing up strong and free, dreamed of her career flourishing, dreamed of maybe someday trusting someone enough to love again. But that was future Beth's concern. Present Beth was focused on survival, on healing, on building a foundation solid enough to support the life she wanted, one day at a time, one choice at a time, one step at a time. That was enough. For now, it was enough. Beth stood in her office at the museum, not a cubicle, an actual office, glass walls. Her name on the door, Dr. Elizabeth Crawford, Director of Authentication Services. She'd finished her doctorate last year, a dissertation on fraud detection in Renaissance art, published by Oxford, already required reading in 3 graduate programs. Charlotte was 3 now, verbal, opinionated, fearless. She attended a progressive preschool 3 blocks from the museum. Beth picked her up every day at 3. They went to the park, had dinner, read stories, built a life that was ordinary and extraordinary simultaneously. Diana visited every few months between assignments. She'd recovered stolen artifacts from 6 countries, returned them to their rightful homes, built a reputation as the foremost expert in looted cultural heritage. She video called Charlotte every night she was away, sent postcards from exotic locations, was present in the ways that mattered. Richard had been paroled 2 weeks ago, 4 years of an 8-year sentence. Good behavior, model prisoner. He'd requested visitation with Charlotte. The judge had denied it. Charlotte was too young, Richard's crimes too severe. Maybe when she was older, maybe never. Charlotte's choice to make. Beth felt nothing about his release. No fear, no anger. Just a vague disinterest in a man who'd once controlled every aspect of her life and now controlled nothing. Her phone buzzed, Jamie. They'd been dating for 18 months, slowly, carefully, building something based on mutual respect and genuine affection. Nothing like her marriage. Everything like what love should be. Dinner tonight, my place. I'll cook. Charlotte can help. She smiled. Typed back. Perfect. 6:30? Perfect. She turned back to her work. Authentication reports, grant proposals, staff meetings, the mundane work of building a career she loved. A knock on her door. Marcus Sotheby Grant stood there, distinguished as ever. Beth, do you have a moment? Of course, she gestured to a chair. What can I do for you? I have a proposition. Marcus sat, pulled out a folder. I'm opening a branch office in London, expanding operations. I need someone to head the authentication division. Someone brilliant, trustworthy, with unimpeachable credentials. He slid the folder across her desk. Job description, salary, benefits, relocation package. The numbers were staggering. I'm flattered, Beth said carefully, but Charlotte is settled here. My mother visits regularly. Jamie and I are building something. I'm not sure I want to uproot everything. I'm not asking you to decide today. Just consider it. Marcus stood. You have a year, maybe 2. Think about it. Discuss it with your family. The offer stands. After he left, Beth sat with the folder. Thought about London, about new challenges, about the life she might build across an ocean. She'd consider it, discuss it with Diana, with Jamie, with Charlotte when she was old enough to understand. But she wouldn't decide based on fear or obligation or someone else's expectations. She'd decide based on what she wanted, what Charlotte needed, what felt right. She'd earned that autonomy, fought for it, survived to claim it. Whatever she decided would be the right choice, because it would be hers. She looked at the photo on her desk. Charlotte and Diana at the park, Charlotte on Diana's shoulders. Both laughing, both present, both connected by love and survival and the slow work of healing. She looked at the second photo, Charlotte, Beth, and Jamie at the beach, summer vacation, sunburned and happy, and building sandcastles. She looked at the life she'd built from the ashes of the life she'd escaped. It wasn't perfect. She still had bad days, still had nightmares occasionally, still flinched sometimes when someone spoke sharply or moved too quickly. But she was free. She was whole. She was choosing herself every single day. And that, she finally understood, was what her mother had tried to teach her all along. Love isn't about perfect presence. It's about showing up imperfectly, repeatedly, courageously. It's about choosing someone even when staying away seems safer. It's about breaking your own heart to keep theirs whole. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, it's about finding your way back to each other and starting again. Not perfect, not healed completely, but together. And that's where all good stories really begin. Beth closed the folder, stood, stretched, checked her watch. Time to pick up Charlotte. She grabbed her coat, locked her office, walked through the museum she'd helped rebuild, past artifacts she'd authenticated, past colleagues who respected on her, past the life she'd thought was impossible 4 years ago. Outside, the city hummed. November again. The anniversary of the night everything changed. The night Richard hit her. The night Diana saved her. The night Beth finally chose herself. She walked to Charlotte's preschool, found her daughter covered in paint and proud of a finger painting that looked like nothing and everything. "Mama, look what I made!" Charlotte thrust the painting at her. "It's us, you and me and Grandma and Jamie. We're a family." Beth looked at the painting, saw the four figures, connected, messy, imperfect, beautiful. "It's perfect, baby." Beth kissed Charlotte's paint-smeared forehead. "Absolutely perfect." They walked home hand in hand, Charlotte chattering about her day, Beth listening, present, grateful, free. The future stretched out before them, uncertain, full of possibilities, completely theirs to shape. And that, Beth thought, was the greatest gift of all. Not the absence of fear or pain or difficulty, but the freedom to choose, to build, to become. The freedom to be imperfectly, courageously, authentically herself. Finally, finally, finally. Thank you so much for staying with Beth, Diana, and Charlotte through their entire journey. If this story moved you, if you found yourself rooting for Beth's strength or Diana's redemption, I'd be so grateful if you'd hit that like button. It truly helps others find these stories. Drop a comment below and tell me, would you have trusted Diana after 23 years? Could you have forgiven her? I read every single comment and love hearing your thoughts. And if you haven't not subscribed yet, please consider joining our community. We share stories like this every week, stories about survival, strength, and second chances. Hit subscribe and the notification bell so you never miss one. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourselves. And remember, you're stronger than you think.